Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. Today, I am by myself. Jasmine is not here with us today because we are recording at a different time that we usually record. But we had to get this interview in because we have an incredible guest today that I cannot wait for all of you to meet. So today we have Annie Rees with us. And I've kind of like met Annie when she was doing bodybuilding and I was doing bodybuilding as well. I've been following her. And then recently I have been like more following her new journey that we are going to talk about today. So just without further ado, welcome Annie to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very well. I'm feeling really good, really grounded, really present. So I'm excited for today.
I am so excited for today as well. I think the topics that we are going to be discussing today are going to be very beneficial for many women, especially women over 30. So usually, I always ask our guests to introduce themselves and then we start with the interview. So, if that's okay with you, can you tell us a little bit about you?
So, hi, I'm Annie. Like we've just discussed, I've come from a fitness background that was driven for all good intentions, but really the deeper part was a lot of external validation with not a lot of sense of self within that. And as time's gone on, I've always been creative and I've never had the courage to really put my work out in the world. And it's only been the last few years I've actually gone and done it, and it's just blossomed. For a little bit more context, I do body painting on women. So helping women basically bring out that inner confidence and thrive in that vulnerable space. And I paint them to a degree where their journeys are on their bodies. So it's very different and it's very not really heard of. Like it's not really something that has been around like a lot, but it's thriving. So I'm super happy.
Oh my God, I just love seeing every single one of the posts that you do. And every time I'm seeing, I was like, wow, this looks incredible. Let's just start from the beginning. As I said, I've met you, like none of you, because of bodybuilding. So I started bodybuilding in 2017. And then obviously you start following different accounts or different people that are doing bodybuilding. And if I'm not mistaken, were you were you doing like WBFF or were you preparing for WBFF
Yeah,
or?
yes, I was. Yeah. So for context, I'm sure maybe the audience might know what WBFF is or doesn't, but it's a particular federation that I was competing in, and I had a huge health scare 2 weeks out of a show. I can go into more context, but that's the gist of it, really.
Yeah, so yeah, I do remember like following you, following your journey, and it's just like loving everything that you were posting, loving like the physique that you were like getting into stage. So how did you started in bodybuilding, and why did you decide to prepare for WBFF specifically out of all the federations?
Yeah, good question. So I've always been a gymnast from a kid, and the reason why I got into bodybuilding and that stage presence is because, like gymnastics, you prepare for one day and one day only, and you prepare that one routine. And everything was very similar in the bodybuilding industry. The reason why I chose WBFF is because I saw it in a way for me that was more expressive in self rather than a particular routine you have to follow. You actually can have your own kind of routine, and it was a little bit more glam, let's say. And for me at the time, I really resonated with it. So that's why I chose that federation.
Yeah, like I started bodybuilding as well. But I started it really as a challenge for me because I started like getting more into fitness and stuff and not having a goal for me, like something that I wanted to work towards was kind of like pushing me off the wagon in the weekends. I was very good during the week and in the weekends it was like, way, eating all the food, do whatever and
Yeah.
ever. And I have to say, like, obviously, like every time that you get into something, you don't really see like other things that you can prep for. Like I was not getting married, so I was not getting ready for a wedding or anything like that. have I known that, maybe I should have maybe just book a photo shoot and prep for a photo shoot instead of like diving into bodybuilding straight away. But yeah, that's how I started bodybuilding, and in a way it was just like for myself as a challenge. But then for the all the time, like the following years that I continue to compete, it was very similar to what you just said, kind of like that external validation on getting those placings, and making sure that like the photos that you have or your physique or thing or this and that was something like that. Have you talked to women that have got into bodybuilding for the same reasons?
For what, sorry?
For the same reasons of like kind of like that validation.
Oh,
Like have you
yeah. You know what? I'm one of these people that I like to guide people to their own answers, but I don't like to push them into an answer that they
Mhm.
might not resonate with.
Yeah.
So I've worked with so many women now, whether it's in fitness or body painting them, and I think everyone has their own journey, and I'm kind of at this point of to be at the point in their journey that I come in to help and honor
Mhm.
them and support them and hold them in that space of where they're at. For me,
Yeah.
that's a lot more, I think, beneficial for their journey rather than me go in and say, are you doing it for this reason? Why are you doing it? You know?
No, no, absolutely. Yeah, for me, it was like, yeah, that was kind of like my challenge to get into it. And then you get hooked. And then as soon as you keep competing, it's just more kind of like that validation of like, oh, I need to get the place in and I need to get this and doing that and all of that. Now, I remember you said like you have a little health scare like 2 days before the show. So you didn't end up competing, or did you?
No, I didn't in the end. It was definitely the universe was throwing me in a direction of this is not for you. And just to
Mhm.
confirm it, they cancelled it anyway because it was 2020.
Oh,
So,
oh my God, you were
yeah.
going to do the same show that I was going to do.
No way.
Yes, I was gonna do that. The Worlds, the one that they turn into the
Yes.
Worlds, and then they canceled it.
Oh my goodness. That's insane. My goodness.
That has
That's,
also been the last show that I prepped for, and I've never prepped again.
I'm the exact same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. You see, we are learning things, right? When we start talking to
Yeah.
each other. So
Yeah.
yeah, like they canceled the show, so you didn't compete.
Yes, correct.
And then,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
okay. What I was only saying was 2 weeks out of the show, I had what is called an ectopic pregnancy, which anyone that has never heard of it, I hadn't either, to be honest, until it happened for
Hmm.
me. I don't like to say to me, it happened for me
Yeah.
because it's basically where an egg basically fertilizes, but it gets stuck in your fallopian tube, and where it can't pass down, it then ruptures in the fallopian tubes, which can you can actually die from, which nearly happened for
Yeah.
me.
Oh God.
Which to be honest with you, I look back now and it was a huge lesson and blessing and a redirection because to be honest, I was not listening to what my path actually was. And I knew it. To be honest with you, and so radically honest, I knew me competing wasn't right, but I knew I had to do it in my own way of thinking to prove
Yeah.
others that I can do it. When actually that was such the wrong move to do. So yeah, it's a huge lessons, blessings, and everything in between, you know.
And then after that, did you move away? Because I do kind of like remember you being in very exotic places and like, doing some kind of like painting, like you were painting your legs and you just put it in a canva or something like that, right?
Yeah, yes, you got such good memory. So, I moved to Costa Rica. It was actually really challenging in terms of my relationship with my boyfriend, who I'm still with now, because what do you do when you're on this path of self-discovery and you need to look internally and it's only something you can do, and it's whether or not that person wants to come on the ride with you, and if
Yes.
that person is willing to do it with you. And what had happened is I said we lived together and everything, and I was saying, hey, look, I have this thing I need to address and it's internally. I feel that I can't be in the UK while doing it. I feel I need to go retreat somewhere that's going to be really healing for me. and I need to go ASAP. And I remember him thinking, right, so when are you planning to go? And I said, like, next month. He was like not really believing me after everything. Bless his heart, like I left and we were like 6 weeks apart until he was like, oh, okay, maybe actually she is going to stay there and I will like give up this whole apartment and do everything that end in the UK. So he joined me out afterwards, but it's definitely a healing process of it has to be on your own. But I was blessed so much to my core that he followed out there and had his own experience, but we were together in the process, you know?
Yeah, that is so good, because I believe that that is not always what happens in relationships, right? When you feel like, look, I love you, but I also need to prioritize myself. I need to discover who I am, or like what is going on with me. I need to heal, and then we can, continue where we left off. And the fact that he decided to also move with you, like leave everything in the UK and move, says a lot.
Yeah.
And that he also
Yeah,
did his kind of like journey with you.
100%. It's I look back at it now and I think, Annie, you really pushed the boat there. Like I look back at it now and think, God, you daredevil, Annie.
Yeah, but I guess like sometimes there is, I mean, I think this is a great message as well for women, that we might be feeling that something is not right, and it doesn't necessarily need to be with their relationship, but that is something maybe inside us that we need to look into and heal. And we do not take that step from fear of maybe losing that relationship, right? So yeah, in a way you're like, oh wow, like how did I even do that? But also that is like such a brave thing to do, putting yourself first in that specific
Yeah,
moment. Just you need to heal to be able to keep being the person that you fell in love with, for example, or like to keep giving you the love that you want to get from me. Like you need to be good with yourself as well, first and foremost.
100%. And as well, just on that, it's in relationships, my particular relationship, and I've spoken to a few people about this, we've had so many deaths and rebirths in our relationship. Like we've literally had to say goodbye to certain parts of our relationship in a healthy way to grow together, because it's basic like the only kind of analogy I can think about it is like if you're going in one direction and then that direction is like pointless because you both realize actually that's not the goal I want, and if it's an alignment, then you have to have that death that needs to happen within your relationship. And we've transitioned in phases where it's like we've had to be okay with letting go of parts of the relationship that didn't work or that we loved once upon a time, and actually that chapter's done now, and that's okay because there's also new that is coming in. And that was a really hard thing to get my head around, that actually even when you're in a long-term relationship, you're still going to have the moments of death, of like saying goodbye,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And like, I mean, I think that this is, sorry, my cat is like having to cross in the middle, of course, every single podcast episode. He needs to do something.
Right.
Um, so like this that you have just mentioned is so interesting. And I am like really, like, I want to, if that's okay with you, to talk a little bit more about it. And because what you say is like so true, especially when you are with someone for many many years, is what you say, there are some parts of the relationship that you used to love at some point, and then now maybe they are not serving you, or they are not exactly what you need to continue in that same path, and you need to kind of like start say goodbye to get to open something new. But how would you say to someone, like especially to women that are listening to the podcast, to navigate that specific moment? Like how do you realize that is the case? How you start that conversation with your partner to get to the point that you managed to be in?
Yeah, the only I'm going to give you an example, okay? Because I think if we work with
Hmm.
examples, it's a lot easier to comprehend. So
Hmm.
when I first got into a relationship, he was doing really, really well online on social media. Like we're talking like a nice big following, really deep in the fitness industry with big brands. And I had this idea of him when I first met him. You know, that honeymoon phase where you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have that idea of what that person's like. And
Yeah.
then behind closed doors, I actually got to know him, and I had to let go of the person I thought he was, that I was falling in love with, let's say, when actually that person actually never existed. And not saying he's not authentic, but what I am saying is when you really, it's like that circle is like everyone outside that's not your friends will see a certain side. Then the ones that are really close to you will see another side. And then no one will ever see the real you that
Yeah.
you see. And I got into that inner circle and I was like, hold up. Okay, I actually, what I thought he was and stuff like that, I actually have got to know him to his core, like the real true essence of him. And I love him so much more, but this death of this non-existent thing I've had to let go of. And it's the same with me with the fitness. It's like when I let go of all of that, I let go of the community. Let's not talk about how like hard that is to let go of a community when you're in a
Yeah.
circle of people with the same interests. I had to let go of everything in terms of fitness, my business with it and everything. And that was the hardest thing. And again, that's another death in the relationship because he knew me as fitness Annie. Like he
Yeah.
didn't know me as the creator, the artist, you know? So what I would say to every woman that is going through or has gone through something like this is like, you have you, and that's the most valuable thing. Like no one can take your mind away from you. You have the ability to control your own mind and know your heart to your core. And once you know, like everything's okay, I can have everything taken away with from me, but I've still got myself. That's when, for me personally, I was like, I think I'm going to be okay, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a beautiful message, and it's something that we need to keep reminding ourselves because I think we neglect ourselves very often. And as you said, like sometimes we see our self-worth because of someone else instead of like seeing our own worth within ourselves and saying like, I am enough. I have me. I am happy within myself. That's all I need. And then the rest is just a compliment that makes my life even better.
So true. You've been hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, so why Costa Rica out of like all the countries that you could have gone for a retreat? Do they have like a specific program that you liked, or it was like a calling going there?
Yeah. So at the time when everything was locked down, it was actually the only place you could fly to, except from
Of
Dubai.
course, it was
So
2020.
yeah, of course. And for me, I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling Dubai. um, so Costa Rica it was, and I didn't know anyone there. Like actually initially went there with a friend, like that just wanted a holiday, but I was going to live. So for me, it was like I'm going to find an apartment to live in, whereas she was like, I'm gonna find a hotel to live it, like to be in, you know. So even though we flew together, it was very much a separate kind of trip. I just knew I needed to be in nature, and I knew that I needed a break, and I knew that it was going to be a break more than just a 2 week period. And I knew that I had a lot of stuff to let go of, to be completely honest. Because when you get to a point where you're like, I don't even know who I am, like that's at a point where you're like, I need to do something about this because
Mhm.
if I don't know who I am, how do I expect others to know who I am?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yes. So I want to now touch base on something that I've seen in your bio because obviously like I had to stop you a little bit before the interview. Make sure that I had like all my questions. And I see that you have a like free from anxiety and negative talk playbook. Is that something that you created after your healing process? What is that exactly? And how people can access that if they want to?
Yeah, so good question. So everything in there is, to be honest, is from the depths of like everything I have felt and gone through and done it alone. And it's a playbook for people that actually can be those many years steps ahead just from tools that I've had to really listen inward and like trust my intuition on and be like, okay, how can I set this out in a way that I can view and create distance from? because often when we think about things, we think we become it, and that's far from the truth. It's just a thought. It doesn't mean that's who we are. So everything in there is from really getting to the grips with your negative self-talk, because everyone has it. It's just understanding where it's stored, because it can be stored right at the back of your mind that you don't even notice because you've told yourself something for so long. Along with that comes with anxiety. When we think too far in the future, it creates anxiety. What am I doing tomorrow? What am I needing to do today, or like next week or next year? Like, can we just be in the present? So everything in there is everything I've learned since that whole healing process.
Wow,
And you
I
can
think I
actually find it. Oh, sorry. You can actually find it, one, on my Instagram, and two, on my YouTube. So on my socials.
awesome. Like, I think I need to get that because that's how I've been feeling lately. And that's exactly like what you have just expressed, like what you just have said is exactly how I've been feeling lately. Like that really looking into the future, planning everything that is going to do, like calculating certain things and saying like, oh, I need to do this now. So then by this time, I'm having this and that. And that creates that kind of like anxiety and negative self-talk within you. Is very counterproductive at the end of the day. So I'll be checking that 100%. I do. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Like a lot of women listening will be feeling exactly the same way. And I think that would be very helpful to try to start not talking negatively about ourselves or getting into that vicious cycle that is never stopping, right? It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, I agree. And a little thing on that is, what I've noticed is when you look more into your negative self-talk and let go of it through being, you're actually more productive in the future because you've let go of that. That doesn't exist anymore. You've got more space. And when you've got more space and you're clear-minded, you can do more, you know?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be my New Year's resolution, trying to live more in the present, trying to let go of planning. I am a project manager of as profession, so obviously as a project manager I plan absolutely everything. But that's not just at work, it's also on my personal life. And I think it's just starting to take a toll on me in that exact sense, like I keep planning things, I keep wanting things, and I keep talking to myself like you need to do this now because otherwise it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late for this. It's going to be too late for that. And even though I know that there is no, like I keep telling myself, it's fine. Like there is no deadlines for things anymore. Like they were maybe years ago. Now we have a lot of technology and a lot of things that you can do things later in life. But I'm finding it hard, especially the past few months, to really talk to myself in a positive way.
That's so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that with me. Because
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
you're not you're not going to be the last and you're not the first.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna get this playbook and I invite everybody to go and check Annie's Instagram or her YouTube and just get it as well because I think it's gonna make us it's gonna be a good use for me for sure.
I'm glad that was the purpose of creating it.
Yes. And I mean, as I said, like lately you have been very creative. I've been seeing like lots of the things that you're doing with body paint. But how did you decide to take the leap and doing it? How did the opportunity presented? Because I know you've been working very closely with Laura Sky with all of these body paintings. I've like given you like people to also like paint and all of that. Maybe it will be me at some point. But
Yes.
how did you take the step to go full on with the body paint?
That's a really good question. So when I was in Costa Rica, I was selling my artwork in restaurants
Hmm.
because at that moment in time, I'd given up my fitness online business. I'd let go of all my clients to focus on my healing and myself, which is really scary because then you're like, I don't have an income and I'm
Yeah.
overseas. And when I started to sell my paintings, it was like an occurring thing of like, okay, next canvas, let's wait for the inspiration and let's do this, you know. And I got caught short one day where the inspiration was there, but the canvas was not there. I was like, what do I do? I was with my friend, and I was like, and I looked at her and I thought, can I paint you? Like, is that okay? She was like, yes. And I said, the only thing is, I've only got spray paints, and they are like, if you look at the back of a spray painting it's like,
Durable forever.
yeah, do not have on skin substances that can cause harm and all this. And I was like, are you sure I can put this on your skin? Yeah, go on, it's fine. I was like, okay. I'm not joking. I created the most gorgeous piece. It was a very jungle themed vibe. It was all greens and light greens, dark greens, like the contrast was there and everything else. And I looked at her and I thought, I've got something going on here. When I flew back to the UK when I was living in the US very temporarily. And I actually went to Laura and had a body art shoot myself. And then from there, I mean, I've known Laura for five years plus now, and we always knew this is something that like inspired me. Was she was already doing her photography. I was still a fitness coach at that point. I hadn't even told her I was creative. And she said to me, I don't know why, but I feel like we should do a collaboration one day. And I was like, yeah, I feel that too. And when there's like a feeling inside that you cannot deny, and every single woman will have this to their core, and I don't even need to explain it because they know. When you have that gut instinct of something that is either coming or that needs to happen, like we both had that feeling and we were like, we don't know what this is, but we'll just let time pass and see what happens. And that's when it was like, actually, maybe should I bring my body art into your photography and let's see how that goes. And then we got one of our friends in common to come down to Surrey and painted her, and it was like, this is it. This is it. So that's how it kind of began. And then like time and time again, like each year has just got more intricate detail, more meaning behind it, more like telling the woman's story on themselves, you know. It's got a lot more in detail, and I think now it's thriving more than it ever has, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember, was it Martina that you did
Yeah.
with, yeah, it was, I remember like I was just watching it and I was like, wow, that is incredible, because you were not even using any tools. It was just literally like the paint, you were squeezing it and it was just like falling in a way that I was like, wow, that is incredible. And then seeing what you've been doing lately, as you said, like more intricate, it's just like paint, but then like very detailed stuff in it. It's just, I don't know, I think it's incredible. It's incredible to see. And then obviously having Laura taking those photos and enhancing your work with the lighting and, you know, like those crystal things that just do the reflections and things like that. It just makes it beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's definitely a collaboration that has blossomed, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you collaborate with people and it's just not right. But that and that creation, it's almost like something needed to come through both of us. It's weird to compare, but it's like it came through us, but it's not from us. Is the best way we can describe that art. And it's purely there for women. It's actually, I don't take any kind of pride in that's my work and that's mine, like far from it. Like it's actually, I look at each woman when they come to me, because I've done this like so many trial and error ways of let me pre-plan, a bit like you, like I need to plan this and organize this, and I was very much like that, and then I realized it was blocking my creativity and actually getting my best work out. So as soon as I thought, let's not pre-plan, I can have their intention and what colors they want, but until I meet them in person and have feel for their personality and where they're at, the best art is going to come when I'm in the present. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that you said, I was like, you were so brave to literally leave absolutely everything behind, like every sort of income, and then having to just live out of your art. And then I love seeing how that has transformed into like a proper career in a way, like doing like all of the things that you're doing with art right now and how well it's going. If anybody wants to book you for a shoot or to create something like some kind of art, how can they contact you and how can they get in touch?
Yeah, so my best one is my Instagram, which is I am Annie Rees. And something exciting for 2025 is I'll be doing makeup with the body art. So bringing the body art into makeup, photo shoot makeup, stage makeup. That's I'm actually having my training from Danielle Spencer, which is
Right.
amazing. If anyone doesn't know her already, she's an amazing makeup artist, been in the industry for like 11 years
Mhm.
plus, and she's such a good friend and mentor to me. She really is. So that's something exciting for next year that I'll also be offering with the body art. Yeah, I'm just excited to see it blossom.
Nice. No, I love to see it. So it will be just like when you say like you're gonna bring stage makeup into body art, it's like that you're just going to be doing a stage makeup as well as body art for photo shoots and stuff, or that are you going to do something with the makeup similar to what you do with body art?
Very good question. So I'm going to be doing, there's different types of makeup. There's bridal makeup, there's stage makeup, there's photo shoot makeup. I'm purely photo shoot and stage makeup, like a night out kind of glam
Yeah.
makeup.
Hmm.
On top of that, with the body art, to bring in more abstract styles, it's going to make it different for each woman, still with their journey. I'm going to incorporate a body art within the face, but not overpower it. Like, I'm not talking just a bit of body art on the face. Like, we're going to, you'll see. I can't
Okay.
explain with words. I see the vision. I'm like this with every single creation I make. I'm like, I see the vision. I can't explain it, but I'm going to do it.
I'm really excited to see what's gonna come out of that. But because it's when you say like yeah, makeup and body art, I'm like this sounds interesting. So I'm really looking forward to see an example soon in the next year. Is there anything that we maybe have not touched based on that we want to talk about?
No, I actually believe truly that everything we spoke about is organic of like what
Mhm.
needed to be spoken about today, and I trust that completely. So yeah, I'm all good.
Amazing. Well, everybody, make sure that you follow Annie to like we want to see exactly everything that she's going to be doing in 2025. Make sure that you go to her Instagram or her YouTube to check the playbook. I'm sure I'm going to do it right after this. And thank you so much for listening to the episodes. Make sure to give us a like and a review on Spotify or any platform where you're listening to the podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok, as well as on our YouTube channel if you want to see the video interview that you are listening to at the moment. And I cannot wait to see you soon in another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. Bye.